In this video, we're going to show you how to add a new post to your WordPress blog. Now, in our example here, we have already logged into our dashboard, which you can see on the screen here. And in another tab, I have the website open so that I can quickly flip back and forth while I'm making changes and just make sure everything looks the way that I expect it to look. So to add a new post, the first thing you're going to do is go to the post section in the left-hand side of the dashboard and then click on the Add New link. That's going to bring up a blank post for you to start working with. So the title goes here in the top title field, and that can be named whatever you want. And you'll see that after you put in a title that this little permalink kind of shows up here. Now what this is it's showing you what the URL is going to be for that post. It will create a default permalink based on what you have typed into the title, but you can also change it if you want it to be something a little bit different, just so you know what that is. Usually we just let it create the default and then we look at it and see what it says, and we might tweak it a little bit depending on how it reads. All right, in this section down here is where the main content is going to go. Now you can just start typing here and do all of your composition right here in WordPress, and that's probably the easiest thing to do. Some people like to write and compose in an outside program like Microsoft Word or OpenOffice or something like that, and that's fine too. You can always copy and paste content in, but there's just, when you do that, there's one thing that you need to make sure that you do, and I'll show you that in a second. So you could start typing there. Like I said, I have something that I've already copied onto my clipboard and I'm going to paste it in. And I want to point this out to you because it's really important. When you're pasting into anywhere in WordPress, you want to be sure that you use the Paste as Text button. Now you find that on the second row of icons. And if you missed that, there's a button here called Toolbar Toggle, and if I click that, it's going to open up a second row of icons. And right there in the middle, there is a button that says Paste as Text. Now when we click that, it's going to tell you that your paste is now in plain text mode, and what that means is that anything you paste into the box now is going to be stripped of any extra HTML or rich text formatting that might be in there. And the reason why is because a lot of times some extraneous tags can be pasted in and you might not even see them, but they can interfere with how your web page displays. So you always want to paste in using this button so that it strips out any of that formatting. So we say OK, and now you can tell that you're in plain text mode because the button is a little bit highlighted there. And then I'm just going to paste in, and you can see I just have some text there. All right, so I won't go into great detail about adding content of different types because we have separate videos about how to do that, but we'll add a couple of headings here. I'm doing that by just selecting the text that I want to make be a heading, and then I select the appropriate heading that I want to use. All right, so our content's in. Now, another important thing about creating a post is that posts can have categories assigned to them. So over here on the right, there's a box for that called categories, and we have some default categories here. And you always want to categorize your posts according to the topics. This can help your readers find what they're looking for. It's also great for search engines to be able to tell what your website is about, what your blog is about, based on the content of your categories. So you always want to make sure you're categorizing things. Don't leave all your posts as uncategorized, because that's not helpful to the user. So we might select a couple of categories here, but if I need a new category, I can just create it right here by clicking Add New Category. and type in new category you need. If you want to assign it to a parent category, you can do that right here. So you don't really have to leave the screen to go create a new category first. You can just do it all on the fly. And click that Add New Category button. And it's going to add it for you up here, and it's going to already have it selected. Now, that category will be available from now on. So it's really easy to do, to add new categories on the fly. Now, categories are important. Another thing that you may or may not use, some people, it depends on how you're using your blog, you might not need to use tags, but tags you can add down here. And these are sort of the way I think about these is that categories are like large divisions, major divisions of your content. And tags are something that's more specific and more detailed and granular. So you might not want to create a whole category for something very specific, like, you know, a certain type of product that you've mentioned in this post, that it doesn't make sense to have it as a category, but you know, maybe you can tag the post as having that product name. And so if a customer or client or user is looking for everything about that one particular product, they may be able to locate it by using the tags. So that's a good way to think about it, as categories are major divisions of your content, and tags are more specific. All right, as we scroll down here, I just want to show you that you can, when you're writing a blog post, you can just decide whether or not you want to allow comments or not. Now, usually you have a default setting on your blog, so you don't usually have to change this here, but in case you did not want to allow comments or did want to allow comments, you can change it at the level of this one post by coming down here to that box. All right, so those are the major things that you need to make sure that you've filled out: the title, the content, categories, tags if you want to have any. And then over here in the publish box is where you're going to publish the post. Now you'll see here that you also have a save draft and a preview button. Now, save draft is great, like if you're just not done and you need to go back and work on this later, you can just save the draft and it'll be here in WordPress for you later when you come back. So, and I'll show you that here. If we click on all posts, you can see it's right here. It says draft next to it. So it's there for me to pick it up and start working again. And this is kind of why I recommend just doing your writing in WordPress, because that way you're kind of reminded, oh, I was working on that post and I didn't finish it. Whereas if you're keeping all your content on your computer, you might never remember that you were going to write a post about a particular thing, etc. So I think WordPress makes it really easy to keep your drafts and kind of know what you're working on. Let's see, the preview button. Before you publish, you want to see what things look like, you can click that preview button and it's going to show you what the blog post looks like. This one's kind of boring because it doesn't have any pictures, but that's a great way, especially if you're kind of nervous about publishing, to check your work and just make sure it looks right before you publish. And when you're ready to publish, you can just click this button. Now, sometimes people ask, can I publish something but give it a different date? And the answer is yes. You can control the date that you want to use for the post. So, if you publish something like several things today, but you want to sort of spread them out so that they aren't all having the same date in your blog, you can use this to date one, maybe a couple months back, a couple of weeks back. You can also use this to schedule future posts. So say, you devote one whole day to writing a lot of posts, but you don't want to publish them all right this second, you want to spread them out. Well, you can use this to publish in the future. So by putting a publish date in the future, it's essentially going to schedule that post. It won't appear on your blog until that date. So you can see here it says scheduled for August 28th. So that's really convenient too. It allows you to really manage when things show up on your blog. So I'm going to give this a date in the past and then go ahead and publish it. Alright, so I'm going to come back out to the website and I just want to check and make sure it showed up. Right now, this is the blog page, so I can see that it showed up here. And if I click on the title of that post, it's going to take me to the individual post. And you can see how the URL is showing up here. That's the permalink that we talked about earlier. And here's my post. And it's published.